So the big beautiful bill has passed and the no tax on tips is now officially law. But will this actually be a benefit to delivery drivers? Well, let's get into it. What's up, y'all? This is Elijah with the Rideshare Guy, coming at y'all with another video. And in this video, we're actually going to be talking about this new no tax on tips that's included in the big beautiful bill that's been passed into law. Now, we're going to leave the over political aspect of it out of the equation because it doesn't really matter if you're on the left side or the right side, if you support certain people or don't support certain people. The point is that this is the law now, and there may actually be a benefit for us as delivery drivers. So if you drive for Uber Eats, DoorDash, Favor, Grubhub, or even if you do some shopping with Instacart or Shipt, this may actually be a benefit to you. But first, let's actually take a look at why that might be. Chris made a great video on this topic, and he covered the effects it would have on rideshare drivers, but he specifically mentioned that it may be different for you if you're a delivery driver or if you're a hybrid driver like me. And by hybrid driver, I mean you drive for both delivery and rideshare. It's just whichever one is gonna make you the most money at the time. This is a highly relevant topic because according to Gritwise, which we'll leave the report linked in the description, there's been a huge uptick in people who have been signing up for delivery apps and making money delivering for the various platforms that we've already mentioned. But you might be wondering, why would no tax on tips benefit delivery drivers more than rideshare drivers? Well, let's actually break down the structure of how both sides actually make their money. As a rideshare driver, you get paid per mile. You can also get tipped, and you can also get bonus incentives from the paying platform, whether it be Uber or Lyft. But how much of your actual earnings are constructed by one of those categories? In rideshare's case, it's mostly the amount that the platform is paying you per mile, with the secondary source of the way that you're making money being either tips or incentives, and that's going to really depend on your market. This is relevant because when it comes tax time, there are two deductions that you can take advantage of. There's the standard mileage deduction, and there's the actual expense method. Now, I do need to say that you want to consult with a CPA to verify all the information that we're talking about in this video, and they can help you take advantage of it, as I'm not a CPA or an enrolled agent myself. But what that ultimately means is if you're getting paid more per mile from the platform itself, then the standard mileage deduction is probably going to be the better tax route in terms of giving you the most deductions, as opposed to taking the actual expense method, which would allow you to apply the no tax on tips deduction, but that deduction may be significantly less than the deduction you'd be allowed if you went with the standard mileage deduction. But now that we covered the dynamics of the rideshare side, let's talk about the delivery side. According to the Gritwise report, which is linked in the description, like I mentioned before, this is a breakdown of drivers' earnings on Uber Eats and DoorDash as an example. And we can see that on average, the base pay that drivers are getting paid on DoorDash is only 44%, with tips being 53% and incentives being 4%. When we go down to Uber Eats, the percentages don't really change that much. It's 45% base pay, that is what the company is paying you, 54% tips, and 1% incentives. Now, when you pair that information with what we already established with the rideshare dynamics, you see how it's very flipped. The bulk of earnings in a lot of cases for delivery drivers comes from the tip side, as opposed to what the company is directly paying you or any driver incentives. So does that mean that no tax on tip automatically will benefit you as a delivery driver? Well, not necessarily so. It all depends. Let's take a look at the screenshot that's on the screen right now as an example, as this is an Uber Eats delivery. As you can see, the amount that you're getting paid is very, very, very low, and the mileage is very, very great if you choose to accept this at all, which I personally would not. But if you're accepting trips like this, which I can guarantee you this trip doesn't have a tip attached to it, then it's not going to really have much use for you as a delivery driver. But then you have trips like this that's on the screen, which this is more online of stuff that I personally take, where you can see that the amount getting paid is actually a lot higher as opposed to the amount of mileage that you're driving. And I can guarantee you that a person is tipping on this order. So if you're actually taking a lot of those orders, well, the no tax on tip may actually be a benefit to you. Of course, these are two extremes, most orders tend to fall somewhere in the middle in terms of mileage versus tips, etc. So now that we've established the dynamics on both sides, rideshare and delivery, and we're talking about delivery in this video, how do you apply this information to help you save more money at tax time as a delivery driver? Well, it's important to keep a record of all your expenses and make sure that you're tracking your mileage. We've talked about the Stride app on the channel before, and this is actually a great way of keeping track of your expenses. And it also has an app that allows you to track your mileage. Of course, if you don't use Stride, make sure you're tracking your actual expenses and tracking your mileage when you start your delivery shift. The reason I say this is because this bill ultimately will give you more options as a delivery driver. Where rideshare may be less likely for it to apply because you probably use the standard mileage deduction, that'll give you the biggest deduction to save you money on taxes. The delivery driver is a little more complicated. Let's take a driver who has kept track of all their expenses and they've been tracking their mileage. So tax time comes around and they talk to their CPA, and the CPA is able to give them a number in terms of all their deductions they'll be able to use if they use the actual expense method. Meanwhile, the CPA also gives them the estimate for the standard mileage deduction, and they look at the two numbers and they're very close, but standard mileage is still a little bit higher. Normally you would go with the standard mileage deduction, right? And that'd be the smart choice pre-2025. But since this big beautiful bill has passed and we now have the no tax on tips option, if you stack that on top of the other actual expenses, like let's say you're financing a car and you want to write off the interest, you're keeping track of your gas and you want to write that off. In addition to that, you want to use the no tax on tips deduction. That may increase your actual expense deductions higher than the standard mileage deduction. And in that case, the actual expense method may be more beneficial for you to take advantage of at tax time. This is going to be vital in saving you the most money, especially if you're working with a CPA or an enrolled agent when it comes to doing your taxes. But that does it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you got value out of this video, we really appreciate it if you can give us a thumbs up. And of course, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. This has been Elijah with the Rideshare Guy, and we'll catch you in the next video. Be safe and be profitable, everyone.